All right, Jastin. Just like I did to Heather last week, I don't really got any news. Outside of what? This is going to be terrible. Wasn't his name Liam Payne? Yeah. Member of One Direction, Liam Payne. Unfortunately, jumped off a balcony in Argentina and has passed away. That sucks.
Did he jump or did he fall? I just heard that he fell. I don't know.
He jumped.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, some members of the Argentinian government came out. There is unfortunately a lot of evidence that he jumped. And that sucks. But also, kind of boo on TMZ, because TMZ was kind of posting pictures of that man's dead body.
No way.
They did pull it. They did pull it, but yes, TMZ was posting pictures of that man's dead body. Kind of like how they were posting pictures of the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash before his wife even heard about it. Yeah. How about we not do that? I get that you got to break that news. It's the 24/7 news cycle. You got to be, if you're not first, you're last. I get it. But, yeah, that's a man's dead body. And it's not like it's like autopsy photos or something. Like, it's, within 15, 30 minutes of that man dying, they're having pictures of his body. Yeah, ain't that some bullshit? But in a slightly softer news, one other thing. We're not affiliated with these people at all, but the Robert Irvine Fit Crunches are really delicious. Specifically their chocolate peanut butter. Because it tastes like chocolate and peanut butter. It's fantastic. If you want amazing protein bar macros, it's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. You're looking at like a 200 calorie, 16 gram of protein. So it's not quite like the Barabel, like 20-1 or 10-1 ratio and all this other stuff, but flavor wise, these fucking things taste like goddamn candy bars. And so it's a candy bar that gets you a stupid amount of protein. So if you're all being healthy and shit, or want to be slightly healthier and shit, and they're slightly cheaper than other protein bars out there, they're really fucking good, guys. They've got
I've had their like one that tastes like an Almond Joy. Yeah. It's very good. It tastes like an Almond Joy.
They've got a fucking chocolate coconut almond one. It tastes like a fucking Almond Joy. It's fantastic.
Might need to get on this. And what is the name of it again?
It's the Robert Irvine Fit Crunch. If you go on if you go on Amazon, you can get their Flavor Lovers pack for like $20-$25. You get 9 bars and each one's a different flavor. And you can like just try all those to find out what you like and get those.
Cool.
And like I said,
I wish we were promoting them.
I know, right?
They were, marketing.
But no, I just started eating those and they're just very delicious. And I wanted to tell people about them because I literally ate one before we started. It's just really good. Like I said, I get why people like Barabels. Barabels are very good, but there's a couple of their flavors that I just feel like I'm eating flavorless nougat that's thick, and I just don't like it. But there are some that are super, super good flavors. Their pumpkin spice is really good. I also really like is like cookies and cream. Their cookies and cream, very good. But like it's their caramel cashew. I feel like I'm eating the worst part of a milk dud. And it's not the chocolate or the caramel. It's the part of the caramel that is just stuck to your teeth for 9 years, it's that. I'm not eating caramel. I'm just eating that part of the milk dud, the tough caramel. I don't like it. But that is the first straight up chocolate peanut butter, like protein option I've had that legit makes me go, yeah. If I ate one of, like, because I love a Reese's. I love a Reese's. I think there's few things in this world that are more perfect than chocolate and peanut butter. And I'll be damned if Reese's doesn't have that combination, that perfect ratio of chocolate to peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Those are damn good, though. If I want a Reese's, but I'm like, man, got to get my protein in, though. Eating one of those, is it the exact same, like, itch scratch? No, it's not. But is it damn close to where the itch isn't really a bother? Yeah. It's good. That's all. I know that sounds like a product placement ad. Hey, and if Robert Irvine's Fit Crunch wants to throw me some money, throw us some money for that, yes. But also, no, I just thought they were really delicious. So I wanted to tell people. That's it. But also, if you have the option to get some of those pumpkin spice Barabels, though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Get on there.
I agree with that. Those are really good.
Yeah.
Barabel, if you want to give us money for that, go ahead too. That's fine. I'm totally fine with getting money for shit that I like. Because then I don't feel like a sleaze if I'm like, yeah, I like it. Give me money. Because I'm just telling people I like it. That's it. But yeah, Jastin, I think, yeah, like I said, you get that flavor pack. Go through them. Dude, they've got a peanut butter and jelly.
Ooh.
And it tastes really damn close to a PB&J, dude. Like, okay. It's weird because it's in a candy bar form. So you're like, it's weird that I'm eating a peanut butter, but it's really good. It's a good peanut butter flavor with just a hint of sweet grape. Yeah. I'll send you the link on Amazon, Jastin, to this specific pack.
Okay.
Real good, guys. Real good. That's it. That's all I got for news today. You guys got anything? What you guys got any news?
I don't think so.
I'm just real excited to talk about this Joker.
Oh, me too.
Get that Folie.
You betcha.
Adieu. That shared delusion. I'm so excited for this, guys. Can't tell you how excited I am.
I can tell. I can see the look in your eye.
I am. I've got a twinkle in my eye. Oh, man. Music.
Somebody help us.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. And tonight we're going to talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with the new Joker 2, Folie Adieu, whatever the fuck this movie's called. I don't know if it actually says Joker 2. Is it just Joker Folie Adieu? I don't know. Who knows? It's impossible to actually know what this movie's called.
Adieu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Joker.
We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around in both audio and video formats if you so require. And with all that, Jastin, since we missed you so goddamn much, what are your thoughts on this Joker? Joker 2. Arkham Boogaloo.
Arkham Boogaloo. Man, that might be kind of what it is, an arc of Boogaloo, because it just didn't feel like we moved much from the confinement we were in. Well, I remember us talking about the first Joker movie, and one of the complaints I had about that is that I felt like the film didn't definitively say that Joker, or that Arthur Fleck in this case, was a bad person or the villain of this story. Or, we talked a lot about how in that movie, it almost felt like they were vilifying this person that was doing these heinous things, and that we felt like more of an effort should have been given, especially at the end, to show that, hey, this is not the person that you're supposed to be rooting for. And we talked about all the reception that movie got, and how there were these kind of people who found this character endearing and sort of maybe even saw him as kind of like this person to root for. And it almost felt like in this movie, when you get to this one, it was almost like they said, well, remember all of that we seemed to make him in that movie? Well, we're going to go the opposite way here and just double down on like that he is definitely not, without trying to spoil it, he is definitely not what you thought he was. And it feels weird because I just thought that this movie was going to be done a completely different way. I thought we were going to be going into this with a character that was embracing this side of himself that he discovered, this Joker side of himself that he discovered. But in a weird way, it felt like it was almost like we retconned that, and we're back to, is he really this or not? Or am I really this person or not? Or am I embracing this side of myself or not? So I felt like the arc we had in the original, it almost felt like we did it sort of again here with the back and forth of, is this really me or not? And then we get to the end and it's like, oh, but I know who I am now. But I thought we already told this story. Like, I thought that we had gotten past this, but apparently we hadn't. It just felt like they sort of reset Arthur Fleck in this. But, and maybe if the story was told, or maybe if the story was told a certain way, that would be interesting. But I just found the way that they did this story very uninteresting. It doesn't feel like the movie moves very much. It just feels like we're kind of stuck. It feels like we're stuck in one act for a long time. The second act. I know that there was a lot of back and forth with the director, Todd Phillips, saying, well, it's not really a musical. It's not a musical. Don't call it that. It's not really a musical. Well, that was a lie. It is a musical. Like, it is. Like, there are songs, and I guess to be more accurate, it's a jukebox musical, right? Because we're doing a lot of covers of different songs.
It's all covers, yes. So jukebox musical is just, it's all covers. It's all, popular songs or modern songs. There's variations on it, but it's all real songs or whatever used for the musical element of your movie. One of the most popular examples of that is Moulin Rouge.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what this is. It's a jukebox musical. But the covers are not interesting enough. or done well enough to really justify doing the covers. I mean, there was nothing, and I consider myself a musical person. I like musicals. I really like musicals. One of my essentials was Chicago. You know, I made y'all watch that. Like, I like musicals. I think a decent amount. I like the Disney musical ones. But man, the music in this, I failed to understand how it helped tell this narrative. Like, there's a lot of singing and a lot of dancing, and it all looks great. The cinematography, that might be the best thing about this movie is how it looks. Like, it does have incredible cinematography, and some of the set pieces are great. But besides that, I just really failed to see how this music enhanced the story. And sometimes I question, now I know Lady Gaga can sing, but this felt like they were like, Lady Gaga, you need to like not sing to the best of your ability. Like, it felt like they were like, we need you as part of the role of this acting, we need you to not be as good as we know you are. I just didn't feel this felt beneath her. Like, these songs and the way they were singing them and the way they had her, it just felt beneath her. I never heard anything from the songs that I felt was interesting or compelling or like, oh man, I can understand why this was done. I didn't. I really, it was just very hard to connect musically with what they were doing. And like I alluded to, the story just doesn't move very much. For the most part, we're just in confinement and there's this upcoming court case. And then we do that. And then nothing really interesting too much comes from that. And then the movie doesn't move very much beyond that. And then it just ends. And man, like, I can't believe I'm going to get on here and say this, but the first one I think is better. And I didn't love the first one, but at least I felt like there was a story. It felt like, you know, like the Gotham City in the first one kind of had its own, it kind of had a personality, and you could kind of see how the city was imploding on itself and how, as this Joker persona comes, how people are gravitating onto that. They did a good job in the first movie helping you understand how this happened within the city. Here, like Arkham Asylum, and this is one of the last things I'll say about it, like in the comic books, in the way like that, the Gotham City and the Joker in the first Joker film kind of had this tone and this personality and kind of had this way of sort of being this all-encompassing thing. It's almost like the city is its own character. And in the comic books, Arkham Asylum is very much that way. You know, and in some of the comics that you read, especially like the Arkham Asylum comics and things like that, that place almost kind of has a personality of its own. There's a lore of it. There's something compelling about Arkham Asylum. This place where these villains are put and then they all go, and these things that sort of happen there. And Batman has to constantly check in on it and stuff like that. You know, it's got there's this real lore to Arkham Asylum. And here it just felt like a place where Arthur Fleck was being confined. And I didn't feel like, I think there was a missed opportunity there to make Arkham itself more compelling, but it's not really. There's just a few people we meet. There's a few people that interact with Arthur Fleck, and that is pretty much the meat of that story. Lady Gaga doesn't do a bad job in this. I mean, it's a respectable job as far as her acting and everything. But I didn't like this story for Harley Quinn. I just wasn't feeling it. Like, essentially, she's been sort of positioned as I guess I can go ahead and say it, but it's almost like she's the villain of this story. In the way that, or at the very least, she is the antagonist to our Arthur Fleck Joker protagonist. And I think she's supposed to represent us in a way, or the audience, or a certain sect in the audience that glorifies the Joker. Like, I kind of get what this movie was going for, but I just didn't really like it. I didn't buy, I think the love happened too quickly, so I didn't buy it. And then by the time you get towards the end and you're finding out truths and everything like that, none of that hit me as hard because I didn't feel like it was developed enough initially to really feel it, I think, the way the movie wanted me to feel it. And that's unfortunate because that is pretty much the crux of this film. A lot of it hangs on this relationship with Arthur Fleck and Harley Quinn, or Lee, as they call her in this. And that wasn't strong enough to hold up the weight of this film. It just wasn't. And that's a big part of what this is about. And it just wasn't. And the metaphor of what they are is supposed to be super strong as sort of like the underlying meaning of this film. But because I felt like that relationship is weak, that metaphor doesn't come across very strong to me. So, I mean, so interestingly enough, like, I wanted to really give this movie a chance because after watching the first Joker, I went in with the expectation of, okay, I know I'm not going to get the comic book. They already showed us that they had no interest in doing that. So I knew I wasn't going to get that going in. But I at least thought I might get an interesting movie. I at least thought, it's a musical. There might be some songs that I like. I at least thought, I'll approach this with an open mind, and I'm sure I will come out liking something about it. And honestly, a lot of it was meh, and some of it just had me scratching my head like, why did we even do this? And then when it got to the end, I was like, if you know and understand the audience that paid all that money to see this and made this a hit the first time, and I wouldn't even consider myself, yes, I paid for this film, but I wouldn't even consider myself a fan of this first film. But damn, I'm sitting there going, damn, you did your fans like this? Like, this is what you wanted to do with the Joker? You thought this was the decision to make? Like, people liked him, right? But you did him like this? Damn. So I kind of feel bad. Like, I wasn't a big fan of this Arthur Fleck Joker, but I feel bad for anybody who was, because I don't see how they could have been happy with this at all. So this is just a weird freaking movie, man. Like, on some levels, you gotta give a kudos to the balls to just want to do what you want to do and want to do it the way you want to do it. And, I consider myself an artist. I of sorts. And so I'm all about being true to yourself and your vision and doing what you want to do. You know, I'm always going to support that. But this is one of those weird times where I'm even asking myself, why build this character up and just absolutely tear him down in such a non-meaningful way like this, especially if you knew who your audience was. So yeah, I'm confused by this movie. I really am. Maybe y'all can clear it up for me because I don't really understand what was supposed to be accomplished. So it almost felt like they wanted people to not like this. I mean, that's the only thing I could come back to is they must have wanted to piss off their main audience. And based on the reception, that's what happened.
Heather, what about you?
It's actually funny because literally almost every single thing that you said you felt about it is exactly how I felt about it. So yeah, I mean, I didn't really enjoy this film. Like kind of like what you said, it is well shot. You know, it has some really good set pieces and the cinematography and all of that is good, but it really just didn't have much else going for it. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's honestly what it was. It's also like, and what you said too about the music, the way that they incorporated the musical numbers, it just wasn't very interesting. And the songs they picked weren't it. They just weren't like, you know, and it's one of those, like, as much as I love Lady Gaga's voice, like, I just think that honestly, the movie probably just would have been better without any of the musical numbers at all. And I understand that, you know, a lot of it's supposed to be sort of giving you insight into Arthur and what's going on in his mind and things like that. But it just, I mean, because of the fact that the songs just do not really add anything to the plot, it also would have taken out probably 30 minutes of the movie or something like that. It was a very long movie and it felt long at times. So yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that is completely the biggest, probably the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems with the film as a whole. And then it's kind of like something that I said with the first Joker movie, because I'm also on board where I'm like, I didn't care for it that much. Joaquin Phoenix does it really well in the role he's doing. But again, I just don't think that this needs to be the Joker. Like I would prefer that they did this movie as like an unrelated character, just completely different. And I just think that it works better that way, or that it would work better as a movie that way. And if you were going to do a follow-up, it would work better that way as a follow-up as well. And that is the sad thing about it. It almost feels like, for me, this is one of the most unnecessary sequels that we've ever had. Like, it's just pointless. There is just no really good point in having this be a movie. Like, unfortunately, and I know when they announced this movie, however long ago it was, and people were getting excited, the people who love that movie, I was kind of like, why? And also, what? Because it's a musical, you know, like what? It just didn't make sense. And so I wasn't one of those people that was really just itching to have this movie. And so therefore, I guess I wasn't disappointed with it, because I didn't really expect it was going to be great, because I didn't really think the first one was as great as a lot of other people thought it was either. So, yeah. And I just think that also, you know, plot twists that they have going on there, also unnecessary, uncalled for, just also kind of proves my point of why this just doesn't even really need to be a Joker movie. So just in general, like they just were doing a lot of things just to do them in this movie where it doesn't really add up to anything at all. That means anything. So yeah. And and I know that Arthur's character is supposed to be just like an uncomfortable character. And there's some choices they make that I think that they just didn't deliver like with his alter ego persona the best. But I will say that they made enough interesting choices, I guess, to say like I wasn't bored necessarily with this movie. It did feel much longer than it needed to be. And that is also a huge downfall of the film, but I won't say I was bored. I was unamused and confused a lot, but I don't think I would say I was bored because I genuinely was like, where are they going with all of this throughout most of this movie? So that's really the only thing I could say for it. And I don't even really know that that's a good thing. That's just my feeling I had. It's like, I wasn't bored, but I wasn't like excited about it either. You know, it was just it was more like I was intrigued because what they wanted this movie to be in general was just so like interesting to me that I'm like, I just need to see how this is going to play out. And that's really the most like my intrigue into how this movie was going to go was better than the movie actually ended up being, for me at least. So, yeah.
I found a lot of that pretty interesting, guys. A lot of that was really interesting. You guys had a lot of thoughts. I mean, I find it kind of weird, though, that we're sitting here, all three of us, late on this Thursday night. We're talking about this movie. And I feel like I'm the only one that got it. You guys just didn't get it. I mean, this movie was about subverting what you thought it was going to subvert. When they're like, we're doing a musical, but it's not a musical. And they go, yeah, we're going to do songs that were all from before 1958. And they're all lounge, big band style, like songs. It threw you guys for a loop. You weren't ready for it. Because you hear jukebox musical, and you're thinking of Moulin Rouge and all those things. You're thinking of modern songs. You're like, it's got the Lady Gaga in it. It will have new songs. No, subvert what you're subverting. When you're like, oh, they're going to actually continue the story from the first movie. And instead, they just retell it again. See, they subverted what you thought this movie was going to be at every turn. You're like, oh, it's about the Joker. Maybe it'll have a joke in it. And they're like, ha, tricks on you. No jokes in this movie. When they're like, hey, this is a gritty, realistic take on the Joker. And this movie goes, ha. And this is, I am going to give credit to the Weekly Planet podcast because they're the one that said this about this particular scene. And I can't get that out of my head as a way to describe it. So I'm going to give them credit, but also, say what they said, which is, like gritty, realistic take on the Joker. So, it completely subverts that when he essentially airbuds being a lawyer because there's no law that says he can't be a clown in the courtroom. So they have to let him be a clown in the courtroom. Subversion. Because that's gritty and realistic, but it's also subverting it. You guys just didn't get it. And when they're like, hey, Lady Gaga, you're an amazing and accomplished singer. How about you just sing at 60%? And when they're like, hey, Joaquin Phoenix, we know you actually sang as Johnny Cash and Walk the Line, and you can sing. What if you also don't try as hard when you sing. And when you're sitting there going, why do I need a sequel to the Joker? This subverts that by also asking, why am I made? I just don't think you guys got it. Because you remember in the first movie when we were like talking about how it's empowering the wrong type of people? And this movie, when everybody thought it's going to do more of that, it subverts it by telling those people that paid $1 billion worth of fucking tickets to watch the first one, and it turned to them and said, hey, fuck you too. Subversion. When every other big budget $200 million movie is released, and those studios are begging and pleading with you to go watch their $200 million movie that would need $400 million to break even after marketing. This movie says, hey, fuck you, don't watch me. I just don't know if we saw the same movie, because that's what I got.
I see. Yeah, you're right. It's too highbrow for us. I get it.
I mean, I get it, guys. You saw the first Joker movie, which I am on record saying was a big steaming pile of shit. And this movie went, hey, we're going to subvert that. We're going to be the shit that ate that shit and then shat it out into some more shit. Subversion.
That's beautiful. That was very beautiful.
I mean, Todd Phillips is an auteur. He went, hey guys, remember how I've made some very successful movies and I've ruined them in the sequels? And you think, hey, he's not going to do it this time. And he went, subversion. I'm going to do it worse. I mean, no one thought it was possible to make a worse sequel than The Hangover 2 or The Hangover 3. And he went, wanna bet? There's a joke in a movie. And I'm really sad that I'm blanking on what movie it is. But they're like, this movie makes Child Play 2 look like Child's Play 1. Or is Child's Play 3 look like Child's Play 2? And it makes Child Play 2 look like Child's Play 1. Right? Is that the joke? No, it's not. It's House Party. I'm sorry. He goes, this movie makes House Party 3 look like House Party 2. And it makes House Party 2 look like House Party 1. That's the joke, right? But this movie makes The Hangover 3 look like The Hangover 2. And then makes the Hangover 2 look like The Hangover 1. And it makes the Joker look like, I guess, Hangover 4. I don't know how to do the math that way. But I mean, you guys, like I said, you just missed it. You were like, hey, is he going to make a coherent movie that actually expands upon the universe that he created in a way that is unique and might actually redeem the gigantic missteps he took in the first movie? And he went, no. Because that's what you expect. And that's what you want. And God forbid the director of a major Hollywood movie gives his audience what they want. Too many of them do that. Not enough of them say, hey, our first movie was made for a very, very core group of audience. And our second one will be made for no one.
As a matter of fact, the second movie is going to tell you that you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy.
Yeah.
For liking this character. You're the bad guy for admiring this character. You were the bad person. It's almost like it's saying you're the bad guy for liking the first movie. That's almost what it's saying. You are the bad guy for wanting to see the Joker.
Which, guys, after we saw the first one, is that not what we thought anyway? I'm just saying, this guy made this movie for you. You just didn't get it. This movie was your feelings about the first movie. And I get that that's confusing because you're watching a movie that is about your feelings about its prequel movie. Subversion.
So really, it's brilliant. Great. Good to know.
It's probably the most brilliant movie I've ever watched. And I'm really sad with you guys because none of you guys brought up how good of an impression Joaquin Phoenix does of Foghorn Leghorn.
Don't get me started.
That was impeccable. When he does his live action Foghorn Leghorn movie, give him an EGOT right now. Just give him all of it right now. Because what will be better than that? I mean, if you close your eyes in that scene, you would have thought it was a gigantic rooster in a courtroom. And is that not what acting is all about? Making other people believe that you are someone else? I mean, fuck, I believed a man was a gigantic rooster. That is acting. I don't know what you guys wanted. That this movie did not deliver in spades. Recommendations and scores?
Yeah.
Yep.
Recommendations and score.
Since I am on a roll, and since I'm the only one that got this movie, I'll start it. Just so all the true Cinefans out there really know what to expect from this. Of course I recommend it. This movie has something for everybody. You got children? It's got an animated short at the beginning. You've got grandparents? All the songs are old as shit. You got teenagers, girls or boys, don't matter. Lady Gaga's attractive. They'll like it. You got middle-aged divorcees that hate their ex-wives. You got the Joker character. You got those men that probably hate their wives and used to beat them. You've got the Brendan Gleeson character. This movie has something for everybody. It should be seen by everybody. Only like 20 people have watched this movie. It's made like $13 million. It's fucking absurd. Guys, get it together. This is the movie you all wanted and all clamored for. And it was delivered exactly as everybody said. It is a non-musical musical that is a jukebox musical from a different century. That's a comic book movie that's not a comic book movie. That is a courtroom drama that's not really a courtroom drama. I mean,
About a character that's not really a character.
yeah.
And a love story that's not really a love story.
Guys, what I don't know what else you could want. My Cinescore would probably have to be I'll give it a 9. It's 2024. Why the fuck are we having prison rape scenes in movies still? like this that serve no purpose other than everybody in this, like, that wrote this movie just can't think of anything actually constructive to do with their lives in any way, shape, or form. Out of 100. Jastin, what about you?
Well, I'm sitting here going, who could I recommend this to? Like, is there somebody who, a type of person who I think would like this?
Jastin, I just spent like 7 minutes describing all the people that would love it. You've got to know at least one of those.
You sure did. So I feel like, I mean, I can't even say if you're a fan of the comic books, you'll like it, because it is not that. There might be some Easter eggs. There might be some familiar names. You know, Harvey Dent is in this. Like,
this movie is so deep. I forgot about Harvey Dent.
You know, and well, because he's in it, but he's not in it. You know, on with that theme.
But Jastin, but his face gets all scratched up. You know, just like Two-Face.
Mm-hmm. Which begs the question: why do you even need any of that comic shit when clearly you have no objective to make this look, feel, or seem like anything familiar from the comics? You know? So why just throw in a dash of comic book bullshit here and there when clearly your objective was, when you have no objective to pay homage to or do anything that is close to the comic? You already established that. So it's just weird to even have little nuggets like that, you know? It's just weird. Other than for somebody to go, oh, Harvey Dent, he's Two-Face. That's it. What the, you go, man, I know what he becomes. He becomes Two-Face.
But Jastin, what about the fact that they went to the B ward? You know, Burt Ward, the Robin from 1966 Batman. Jastin, layers on layers.
Mm-hmm. Just so many layers that weren't layers. So, like, I can't recommend it to those folks. If you were one of those people, just like you talked about, Sterling, that got this empowerment from the Joker, or you were one of those people that thought, and I'm not even saying that, because, yeah, there's that narrative of, oh, incels love this movie and stuff like that because it justifies what they think, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you have those people, but then you just have people that genuinely liked the first movie and said it was a good cautionary tale about how the system can turn people into monsters. There were people that came from that view. It's a cautionary tale. He couldn't get his medical help. He had mental issues, this, that, and the other. And it's about how if we as a society don't help those people can, you know, if we don't help each other, you can turn into the worst person. Even if you're a person just on that logical spectrum, this goes completely left field. There's nothing about that here. All I kept coming back to is this movie is this big message about how if you, I swear the main message seems to be that you are wrong for being a fan of this character. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like at every wake and turn, it's like you are the bad guy if you wanted to see the Joker, the ha-ha funny, committed crimes, doing crazy stuff, psychotic Joker. If that's what you are a fan of, you are wrong. Like, you are wrong for being a fan of his. You are wrong for thinking that that's what we were doing here. You were wrong for thinking that that's how that this person was going to embrace that side of himself in the first movie. You were just wrong. And you should have cared about something else. So, ha, the joke is on you. Like, that's almost what this movie felt like. So who's going to watch this and go, man, I really like this. I really like that this movie is shitting on me for liking the Joker and coming to wanting to see the Joker. And then saying, not only are you not really going to get that, but guess what? You were wrong for thinking that you should get that. You need to change your tune, buddy. It's not right to want this. And that's weird, bro. That's weird. This is supposed to be based on these comic book characters. It's supposed to be, you are luring people here because of their fandom. So I don't understand shitting on their fandom. You know, I don't understand taking Harley Quinn and making her this vindictive, manipulative person when Harley Quinn's whole character is supposed to be that she overcame this abuse and manipulation and things like that. That character now is a symbol of somebody who can come out of an abusive relationship. Everybody knows that's the Harley Quinn now. That's what Birds of Prey was about. That's what the Harley Quinn cartoon is about. That character is supposed to be the character that overcomes an abusive relationship. It's weird to go, why don't we make her the one causing one? That's weird, bro. That's weird, bro.
Jastin. Come on. Subversion.
Yep. You think you're getting one thing and really you're getting another. So yeah, I guess that is the theme here. So honestly, man, I don't want people mad at me. I don't want to recommend this to people. And they come back and go, man, Jastin, fuck you, man. Why did you think I would like that? What does that say about me that you think I am someone that would like this film?
I know I've been doing a bit this whole time and I have to break it, but this needs to be talked about. Is there a bigger cinematic insult than going, hey, go watch Joker Folie Do? I think you'd like it.
Exactly, right?
Is there a bigger insult you can say to somebody on just a pure movie level than, hey, go watch this? I think you'd have a hoot.
Yep. And after that person unfollowed and unfriended me, I would understand why he did it.
You would have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah, I would have no one to blame but me.
So would you be saying that you would have Todd Phillips your relationship with that friend?
Yes, exactly. Because I guess that's a term now. Todd Phillips. When you Todd Phillips something, that's exactly what you're doing. Because this was, I can't think of the last movie that just did something like this. This is crazy. I mean, I can understand being angry and you making a movie about your anger and resentment, and you're out there, you're targeting certain people or a certain ideology or group, and you like, man, yeah, I want to ruffle some feathers. I want these people to be angry about this. But that's hella weird to go, these fans that like this shit, I want to make them angry. But then I want to make money off of them also? Like, what did you think was going to happen? I thought the point of this was to make money.
Like, I know we have reviewed a lot of bad movies. And we've reviewed great movies that didn't make money at the box office. We've reviewed bad movies that made a ton of money at the box office. We've also reviewed bad movies that everyone just hates and it doesn't make any money. But have you ever reviewed a movie that actively felt like it wanted no one to like it? And I'm not talking about like it was pushing boundaries or whatever, and it ultimately starts a conversation that needs to be had, even if it's an uncomfortable one. No, one that just went, I genuinely am making an effort that no one will like my movie. And it will make such little money that Megalopolis that by all accounts is a failure still looks like a success compared to me because it's that much cheaper than me.
Yeah. Like, my mind is boggled on what was the purpose of this. And it's not even like, oh, it's so bad, it's so confusing, it's so stupid, I don't understand the purpose. Like, really, it's like after watching that, I understand the messages and what the movie meant, but it's just like, but what confuses me is why would you want it to mean this? Why would this be the goal if the goal is to make money? I don't understand. This does not seem like a movie you would make to make money. This seems like a movie you'd make to go, I don't give a fuck anymore. I did it. I'm done with it. I was under contract. Fuck the studio for making me make this, and fuck the fans for liking the other one enough because I had to make this. So just fuck all of you. I'm out. That's what this felt like. So yeah, I don't want people mad at me, so I'm not going to recommend it. Joker gets a 12 fires that nobody can smell or notice right behind them out of 100.
I've got some thoughts about that. Heather, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are going to be that handful of people that just love this movie. And my first thought on like, who would those people be is essentially similar to Sterling's bit. Great performance, by the way, better than everything I've seen in the Joker. But like, there's going to be those people that are like, oh, it's artistic. And it's like, you just don't get it. Like it's above you. Like you have to understand it to just really see what a great piece of art this movie is. There are going to be those people. We know that that's going to happen. Those are the people that are going to like this movie. I don't know who else this movie's for. That's not really, I just don't know who this movie's for at all. It does kind of like what you guys were saying, like there's just a lot of things happening, but like who is the audience meant to be for this? So I just can't think of anybody that I can specifically be like, you know what? You would really enjoy this movie. You would really like it. So yeah, no, there's nothing really to recommend about it. Because even if it was like, you know what, at least go for the musical numbers, or at least go to hear Lady Gaga sing. You're not getting the best version of her. You're not getting songs that are good, or songs that you'll care about, I guess I should say. There's no specific reason or performance or moment or anything like it that feels like it's worth recommending it to other people, unfortunately. So no, I don't recommend this movie. I'm going to give it, I don't know, just because this was the number I landed on, I'm going to give it 15 animated shorts that are actually better than the rest of the entire movie out of 100.
Oh, Jastin, you nailed it. Cinescore's a 12.
There we go.
Big 12, baby. Big 12.
Spoilers?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
How did anyone not know that Lady Gaga lit that piano on fire? Like, they watched her walk up to it and light it on fire. Like, they watched her do it. And then she just burnt down half the asylum. And then they went, well, because she checked herself in, we have to let her check out, even though she committed arson.
Yep.
And we all know she did it. But because she checked herself in, you know what they say. If you check yourself into a mental asylum, you get full immunity for all your crimes.
Yep, that's what I've heard.
I think that's how it goes.
But also, what was the entire courtroom scene of this fucking movie? Like, really, what was that? Like, whenever he's the Joker in the court, like I said, another podcast I listened to, they called it the Airbud moment because the law doesn't say you can't be a clown in court. Therefore, they have to legally let him be a clown in court. And I was like, yeah, I guess that really is it. That's the Airbud logic of, well, the rules don't say a dog can't play basketball. Therefore, we gotta let him. You don't gotta do shit. Plus, there is laws that specifically say you can't do that shit in court. It is called like the basic, what is it, like courtroom decorum and shit like that. Like, judges have kicked out lawyers for not wearing the right shoes. And you're telling me he can't stop a man from dressing in full ass clown makeup? Yeah, it's called contempt of court. You just go, no. And you lock him away until he stops his bullshit. Like,
after that judge said, this is not going to be a circus, and then it just proceeds to be a circus in every way.
What in the courtroom drama was the like, well, after taking on or looking at all the legal precedent, specifically Wiley v. Coyote, I don't remember what fucking movie or like court case it pretended to say. He's like, there's nothing that states you can't do this. Yeah, there is. Also, you know, I'm going to err on the side of caution too, that, you know, I'm typically understanding of judges going with precedent, even if I don't like it, because it's like a traditional thing. But also, you know, you could be that radical judge that goes, you know what? I don't care what other judges have said. I'm not letting you dress like a clown in my fucking courtroom. And I don't think there's legal scholars out there that are going to go, oh, this judge stepped over the line. He won't let a guy be a clown. No. Like, what the fuck was this? Were they writing this movie while watching like Law and Order and go, but what if the Joker was his own lawyer? But he was the Joker. Like, what was that like? These prison guards, they're just so mad that he was like, "Oh, the prison guards are dumb," and they just go, "You know what? We need to rape him and kill his friend." That's just where they went with it. They just go, "You know what? Him saying we're dumb means we need to rape him and kill his friend."
I'm not laughing at the rape.
Justice.
But I get why you're doing that, Jastin.
Such a left turn. I mean, the whole time they seemed to be cool. They seemed like kind of his friends, and they were talking to him and having conversations with him. It was just that one comment he made. They're kind of dumb, and they just went complete left on him. It was just such a sharp turn for those characters. I was like, all of this, they're super evil. How come they weren't evil the whole time? Like, it didn't make any sense.
Like, what is with this movie and the people that wrote it and the people that directed it and the people that had anything to do with any of those scenes that just went, what if they raped the Joker out of him? And that means someone else heard that and went, yeah.
Greenlit.
What if we did that?
Heads nodded and hands shaking.
And at least one other human being, a third person went, I couldn't agree more. What the fuck was that? Like, they legitimately went in 2024. What if somebody raped the Joker out of the Joker? Okay. I tap out.
Yep, that happened.
I give the fuck up. I completely disagree with Heather. This movie was boring as fuck. I was bored out of my goddamn mind. Do you know how boring it is, or how boring you must be if you're a fucking musical and I can't latch on to something you're fucking doing in your movie? We reviewed In the Heights. I talked about how I had some problems with it. Part of it being like I couldn't really hear it, sound mixing issues and all this other stuff. And this director produces this shit, but has the audacity to target a movie that is just leaps and bounds better than you in every conceivable way when it comes to movie, acting, musical talent, every fucking thing you could think of. And you just go, this ain't In the Heights. Motherfucker, maybe you should have tried to be In the Heights. Maybe you should have tried something. Did this not feel like a musical written and directed by somebody that hasn't watched a musical since The Sound of Music came out? And hasn't listened to a single song since 1962? I recognize maybe 2 or 3 of the songs in this whole movie. Outside of that, it's just a bunch of old shit. What was this? I don't see when they wrote and directed and made The Joker, it was meant to be a standalone movie, a one and done, just a once off. What if this was The Joker? And because it made $1 billion, people went, hey, but what if you did a second one? And Todd Phillips was like, no, I don't know. I don't know. Joaquin Phoenix was like, oh, I don't know. And they went, we'll give you a lot of money and we'll just let you do whatever the fuck you want. And they went, whatever the fuck we want? And Warner Brothers went, whatever the fuck you want. And they went, what if we want $200 million to do this, whatever the fuck we want? And Warner Brothers said, you're going to make us another $1 billion. We don't give a shit. And then Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix went behind a door and they were whispering to each other. And they went, what if we do whatever we want for $200 million? And we just make sure it's so bad that no one will make that money. And then Joaquin Phoenix went, that's such a Joker thing to do. And I know this because I'm a method actor and I know what the Joker is. And that's what the Joker would do. And Todd Phillips went, I don't know what that means, but let's do it, buddy. And that's how we get this movie. Just what is this? Like when I was watching this movie, were you not thinking, why has God forsaken me? Jastin, what about you?
Oh, goodness gracious. So it starts off with this cartoon. And it's like in the spirit of like the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes thing. And that was kind of nostalgic. It's playing that Merry Melodies music. And at first I'm kind of like, oh man, this is cool. That's cool. That's kind of tight. So I'm following it. And it does that. And I get what it was trying to show, this shadow, this thing that Arthur that isn't the shadow of the Joker and everything is the one that's really the bad doing all the things, but then it is the actual person who gets in trouble. It is the actual person who suffers. And I get it in a roundabout way. So yeah, we're going to come around and you're going to say that this image, this thing that everybody thinks Arthur is, that's what people want to see. That's what people want. That's what people are infatuated with. But ultimately, the one who suffers is the person. So, they set that up with that cartoon. But the weird thing is why did that have to be Looney Tunes? Why did that have to be Warner Brothers? Like, if you're going to do a scene like that, then I expect throughout this movie to see different things. Like, maybe one of your musical numbers, they would have been animated. Maybe you're going to, if you set that tone at the beginning and say, okay, this is how it's going to start. So it kind of sets it up like, okay, we're going to do multiple things with this. Sometimes it might be animated. Sometimes we might be in the dark. Sometimes we might be, I thought initially seeing that and knowing going in that this was going to be kind of a musical, I thought this was going to be all over the place with its art style and everything like that. But we did that one damn time and then we just dropped it.
What do you mean, Jastin? They also did a Sonny and Cher variety show.
Yeah, they did do that. But it's like, why start it that way if that's all you're going to do with it? Now, it just doing it one time and never going back to it makes it feel like an odd choice. It does really just make it feel like, let's just do stuff. That's what it feels like. If it's not going to set any type of artistic tone for this film, then it just feels like a strange choice. So I didn't have a problem with the scene, but I do have a problem with the scene in this movie. Because if you didn't watch that scene and you watched the rest of the movie, and let's just say you started watching the movie just after that scene. Let's just say you missed that part and you came in right at the beginning of the rest of the film. And somebody told you afterwards, hey, you missed the cartoon at the end, at the beginning that was part of it. Wouldn't you just kind of be like, oh, there was a cartoon? Like, you mean just like a short before it starts, kind of like what Pixar does? No, it was very much a part of this movie. It was literally the beginning of the movie. How does it fit with everything else? Like, so that just felt like a weird choice. But it feels like a broken record because throughout this movie, there are just these strange choices. I don't like the choice of centering this around this court case and what's going to happen to him. Is his lawyer, they're setting this up and it's like the scenario they're setting up is not even interesting. Okay, he's killed all these people. He's going to be on trial. Is the lawyer going to be able to get him off with the insanity plea of the split personality insanity plea? Or is he just going to do his time for killing the people? That's what we're starting with. Like, that's the big question. That's the big thing that's the big question we have to answer in this film. And that seems like an incredibly strange thing to base a Joker movie around. What's going to happen to him? Is he going to fry or is he going to get off? Like, it feels like he should have escaped jail a long ass sometime at the beginning, and then we were doing something else. Like, it just, it didn't feel like, of all choices of ways to tell a Joker story, it just feels weird that we chose what is going to happen to him in court, and it's going to end with this court drama case story. That's just such a weird choice to me. Like, of all the stories you could have told, and we're going to put that, and we're going to, and the dressing of that is going to be musical numbers. Just, these don't even feel like things that go together. Like, the Joker is supposed to be, he's supposed to be committing crimes and doing things, and like, I get that you want to do something different, but why is the different? What's going to happen to him in court? That's so weird. It's just, it just feels like this would have just been one episode on an episode of Gotham, or this would have just been one episode in the Batman animated series, like Joker's in court. It's like, oh, what's going to happen? And then at the end, you know, he gets off or something, and Batman is like, damn it, now I'm going to have to go arrest him again in another episode later on in the series. Like, this just felt like something that could have just been 30 minutes, and we should have been on to something else. But basing the whole movie around this just felt like a very, very odd choice. And another reason why it's really odd is how we decided to do this do-over with our Arthur Fleck Joker character. In the first movie, it seemed like he had really embraced this Joker part of himself. That was the whole arc of the movie, that he was this unhappy person with this terrible life, and he was trying to fit and do all these things and be a productive member of society. And he finally got fed up, and he embraced this other Joker persona, and he went crazy and went off. But in a way, it was cathartic for him because he had embraced this other part of himself. We get to this movie and we're in jail and his life is shitty, and it's felt like we were back to the beginning of the first one. You know, man, he's having a shitty time in jail. Everything's bad, everything like that. What happened to the embracing of the Joker? Why are we back to, am I the Joker or not? How did we start over without explaining to me how the character arrived here? It hadn't been that long, because we're just getting to this trial. He hasn't been sentenced yet. So it hadn't been that long. What happened on the car ride to get to the asylum? I just don't understand this movie. But he has started over. And so then when Harley Quinn is introduced, and it's like, oh, they have a moment together, and she does the whole, you know, suicide, the bullet, whatever. And he's like, oh man, she's kind of cute. And they have one interaction, and this motherfucker's in love, just head over heels to where we are singing about it. And so
she gets me.
yeah, she gets me. At last I have someone, or however that song goes. What? Like, what? I mean, so he's singing all these songs, and half of his songs are about him being in love. But you only gave me one scene to justify, and I'm supposed to buy this love. And there's hella songs he's singing about being in love and hella songs about, oh, I've got this connection and that's what I'm doing. There's hella songs about it, but you didn't develop a love for me to buy. So then maybe I could buy into the singing about it. He's singing and jumping and spinning around. And I'm just sitting here going, one interaction, man? That's all it took? Just a couple of singing sessions? And that's all it took. So that was so weird. And yeah, Sterling, the arson scene was dumb. And then they're like, let's go over here and try to escape. And then they didn't. And it seemed like nobody really got in trouble. I just did not understand what was happening with this. And then when they did the reveal and it's like, oh, she lied to you about everything. The lawyer's like, well, she lied to you about everything. She checked herself in, this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay. And instead of doing something interesting with that, no, it was just that. You know, no nuance to that at all. Yeah, she's just a lying SOB. And like, it's just so weird to position Harley or Lee as this, given what that character is, and we know what that character is. And I thought it was going to go a different direction because on some level, it does fit that Harley would be under this spell of the Joker or this idea of the Joker or this thought of the Joker. There is some level where you could see a version of Harley Quinn being like infatuated with that or obsessed with that or gravitating to this person who is this Joker person. But they sort of took that and in a way, it was almost like what she represented though was the audience, the people that want the Joker. They want to see the Joker being his charismatic, flamboyant, crazy, murderous self. And that's ultimately what she wanted. So I guess she's us in a way. We're the fans that want the Joker and we want to see the Joker and we care about the Joker. And the movie was kind of saying, but you should care about Arthur Fleck. He's the one that had this horrible life that goes through all this abuse. He's the one that really needs the help. So we are all wrong for overlooking him and wanting and being so beholden to this idea of the Joker or this character that is the Joker. So by wanting that, we are overlooking everything else. And that's sort of what it was. And then if we don't give you that, you abandon everything else. And if that was some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy of the movie, well, just like when Harley on the Joker steps was like, I ain't feeling you no more. You're not trying to be the Joker. There ain't no fantasy, so I'm out. Well, that's kind of what happened to your audience in this movie. There really was no Joker. You weren't interested in the Joker, so we were out. You know, nobody came to watch it. So in a way, the film is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it felt like that was the aim of the film, you know? And, you know, so like Sterling said, the Joker gets raped out of him. Harley Quinn leaves him. And he's like, damn, I'm just a regular ass motherfucker. I don't know why any of y'all cared about me anyway. And then I'm just going to get shanked. And then as I'm dying, the guy carves his lips like he's going to be the Joker. So I get it. Whoop-de-doo. The idea of the Joker and the Joker will be popular, and the idea of the Joker and the mystique of the Joker and the character of the Joker will live on whether this version of him does or not. I get what they were saying. Yes, the Joker will live on. Even though Arthur Fleck is dead, the Joker will continue to thrive. The Joker will live on. It doesn't matter. This person in this film doesn't matter because we know that the Joker will live on because that's the iconic character. Okay, duh, big whoop. Is that supposed to be like smart or amazing?
Revolutionary.
Of course. Yeah, revolutionary. Of course we fucking know that. Of course we know that.
But Jastin, what if the Joker's not a character? It's a way of life.
The Joker is all of us.
What if you just gotta, want to kill people and laugh about it? And you could be a Joker too. What about that, Jastin?
Joker's a state of mind.
It's a lifestyle brand, Jastin. It's not a person. It's a movement.
A movement. Yep. Exactly. And according to him, if you believe in that in some sort of way, or that character or this movement or this idea or whatever, you're terrible. And you should care more about humans. Why do you care about this Joker? You should care about the human beings. You should care about the people, Sterling. You shouldn't care about Joker. While you're fixated on your villains, there are people out there that need real heroes. And why, why that's not you? Because you're too busy on the dick of the Joker. So you need to get off of it, dude. You need to get off that JD.
I mean, are you saying, Jastin, that this movie posits that maybe people need to spend less time watching movies and spending their money on movies, and they need to spend it on, I guess, stuff, I don't know, something else?
Yes. Or themselves, because you are missing out on your humanity, man. You are overlooking your humanity. You are overlooking the things that you and other people really need because you are too fixated on these ideas. I mean, or I guess it could also be kind of a cautionary thing. Really, it could apply to anything though, right? Like even like how we look at celebrities, right? Like you have this idea of what you think this person is. So you hold this person up, you worship this person, you admire this person, whatever the case may be, because you have this idea of what this celebrity or this icon or this person is. But what you're really doing is neglecting the human being, Sterling. You're not looking at who they really are because you've got this twisted idea of them in your head. You have made them this person that they are not. And that's not real, Sterling. So you need to stop doing that.
I mean, so what you're saying, Jastin, is this movie goes, hey, you liked this movie that I made, but all these people that criticized it for the glorification and the simplification and just the overall criticisms from the media was right. So I'm going to make a movie about how the media was right and all my fans were wrong. But instead of making a good movie of that, I'm going to do it in the worst possible way. So just the entire point is missed by everybody that watches this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yep. I mean, I can't think of any other way to put it. Like that is essentially what he did. He did make a movie saying the media was right. You shouldn't glorify this person. You shouldn't glorify these people. You shouldn't worship these ideals and we shouldn't hold these people in these high regards that we don't know. We don't know the real person. We are fixated on ideas of people and not who they really are. Which is not a bad message. It's not. But who cares when it's in a movie like this? In a story that you told like this, the way that you did it like this, why couldn't you have that cake and eat it too? Because I would imagine that the real Joker would hate somebody who idolizes him, or would hate somebody who's fixated on him, or would hate. I feel like if there was a Joker movement, he would just laugh at that and find a way to manipulate him, or he would probably just kill them because they're annoying. Like, I feel like
we know how he reacts when people glorify him, because you have to look at the comics and the source material and look at how he treats Harley Quinn in that.
Exactly. So why couldn't this movie have been, you could have that same message, but he could have been Joker, and he could have been like there was a way to do this. You could have had some followers break him out of jail, and it become, and this thing like, yeah, man, we freed him. Now we can start this movement, everything like that. And it could have really been this story about how if the Joker really existed, he would hate you. He would kill you. He wouldn't give a damn about you. Like, this is nobody to idolize, because this is a person who would hate you. If you idolize him, he would actually hate you. He would just kill you. He wouldn't give a fuck about you. Like, why couldn't that have been the way to do this? Like, it's a similar message, but in a way, though, the followers could have represented those people who idolized or looked at that first movie the wrong way. And he could have used the Joker as a way to say, nope, I am not somebody that you need to aspire to be. And we could have saw some cool deaths and done some cool shit. And he could have had Harley in there, and Harley could have been one of these followers. And then after getting beat up and shit, maybe she's the reason why, maybe she's the one who escapes in the end. You know, you could have paid homage to, you could have done something different, but if you do the story kind of that way, it still has some of the ideals and the things that are comic book. And you still could have had that commentary about how the people who saw Arthur Fleck as this were misguided. You could have done it all, Sterling. And you didn't have to sing shit.
But Jastin, what if instead you do none of it?
Yeah. And just spend your money on something else. Yeah, that too. That too. I can't disagree with that. And anyway, with that, I'm done.
I mean, Jastin, you have to admit, you got a 50-50 shot. You either do all the shit you said or you do none of it. They took the other side. You went right, they went left.
Mm-hmm. That is indeed what happened.
Heather, what about you?
That is.
I mean, to quickly address something that you mentioned, Jastin, about like the whole, you weren't buying them being in love so fast. I get what you're saying. I feel like that didn't actually bother me as much in this, because given Arthur's just upbringing and the fact that he didn't have anybody at all, it actually doesn't surprise me that he's like, the first woman to give me attention is, I'm just running with it because I'm not used to it at all. So anybody who's going to be willing to give me that affection at all, I am just in. I can see that being his kind of personality with it. You know what I mean? So that didn't quite bother me as much, but I do agree that it was so over the top, so fast, right? But then you think about these people that are, in this place, and it's like, is all they have dreams of these big things they want to do. And so this grand gestures of love and what we're going to do when we get out of here is all they really have. And these people were actually just the people that decided, no, I'm actually going to follow through with it. Like, you know what I mean? It's interesting, but I agree. Like I feel like in any normal environment, that would be huge red flags all around to just be that in love that fast, you know, but that part didn't actually bother me, but I do appreciate your commentary on it. But I think the thing with, I almost, and this could be maybe a bad idea, but I played around with the idea of like, what if Lee actually was just in his head? You know what I mean? Like, would the movie have been better or more interesting if she was, and she wasn't actually real? And because yes, we kind of would get the same story we got in the first one with the Zazie Beetz character, right? Where he's just made up this relationship. But it could also speak to his whole, like, because of his confinement, because of where he is now, he's just been deeper in his own head. He's gotten deeper and deeper in this imagination and this life that he pretends he has and wants so badly that he's just made it his reality. You know, so it could speak to that. I just wonder if there's something that could have been done to make this more interesting with their relationship, if that had been it. But then I also understand that we don't have kind of the outside perspective outside of the where they're at, the facility that they're in, if she's not at some point out or whatever. But to that point too, I also think like the guards, they really were like just the worst at their jobs, because they also, like, if she was telling the truth, they just let her go and see this man who was in solitary. Like, she's just like, oh yeah, one of the guards let me come in here, and just lets him go in there. And, you know, they have sex and they do all these things. And there's just a guard that's like allowed it when he's supposed to be in solitary. And like that, on top of obviously the assault that happens, not keeping track of these people at all, like with the whole fire being started. It's either the fact that they were so neglectful of their jobs that they weren't paying attention to the fact that one of them got up and started that fire, or they saw it and they just didn't care to do anything about it. In either case, terrible at their jobs all around. And it's just insane. It's actually crazy. Like, I don't know. And like, kind of like what you said, because I almost felt like, okay, Papa Gleason, you know, he's hard on him still. And he obviously doesn't like necessarily like him as a person, but he's cordial with him at least. They have some sort of relationship because of how often he sees him and whatever. And you think maybe that, you know, in moments you feel like, oh, okay, that's the one person that's actually like trying to be nice to him outside of Lee. But then, yeah, the immediate change when he's just like, I can't believe he said something that's not even that offensive on TV in front of everybody. These guards that don't do their jobs. What do you mean we don't do our jobs? Like, no, you don't, though. Like, I don't even remember what he said. Did he call them dumb? Did he say he didn't do their jobs? I don't even remember what he said about them. But the fact that all of these guards were just like on a warpath.
I mean, he said, you know, the words.
Yes.
There was like a sentence, I think. I think that, like, I don't think it was like a run-on sentence or a compound sentence. I think it was just a regular sentence.
Okay. Yeah. That can see why they'd be upset about that, maybe. Yeah. But
I mean, sentences are the most offensive form of like words.
Yeah. No, that is a fair point. I didn't think of it that way. Appreciate that. But yeah, I'm just sitting there thinking like, these are just the absolute worst guards. And then it falls into that trope of like all, you know, people in powers of authority in places like this are terrible people. Like, that's just this trope that you get in movies that are like this. And it's tiresome, kind of like what you said. Like, why do we have to have the guards assault this man? Like, why is that a needed thing? And I don't know. It was really like, what's the word? Disappointing. It was really disappointing.
Well,
and
it's to comment directly on what you're talking about, though. It's like that weird thing of like, everybody's like, you know, people need to stop feeling stigmatized for mental illness, blah, 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 all of those things. Yet in movies, even now, we still go, hey, but just remember all the people that are in the places that help you. They'll do nothing but abuse you and torture you and take advantage of you and manipulate you. And they are all the worst people that could ever exist. But make sure you take your mental health seriously and you seek help from these people that are cruel, vindictive, horrible people. But you still need to do it.
Right.
But they're bad. And everybody wonders why we have still, to this day, a very conflicted relationship with mental health and therapy and things like that.
Right. Nope. 100%. I completely agree. And that's why I get so upset in movies like that, where it's counselors or it's whoever, like even in The Crow, I think I mentioned, where they're just like, let's just have you be in the real world for a second and have all these people come up and tell you terrible things to your face. That'll help. Like just weird things that I'm like, how are you helping people in any capacity here? But yeah, it irks me when that happens. Yeah. And I think that like sort of along those lines too, I guess that's one of the things about this movie of why I don't like this being the Joker or supposedly the Joker is because the thing that was so like scary and like jarring and everything about the Joker, at least in most cases, is that he just wants to do things to do them. Like he just wants to do evil things to be evil, you know, and like kind of like what is that? Whatever they say in, Dark Knight, like some people just want to watch the world burn. Like, because like that version of the Joker, I really enjoy because that's terrifying. He's like, I don't have a reason for it. I just want to cause chaos. I just want people to suffer kind of thing. That's a more like, that's the type of villain that you're just like, that works. That works for who the Joker is, I think, better than just like, oh, the Joker is this way because of all of the mental disorders that he has. I just don't really like that take on the Joker. And maybe that's just me, but I just feel like that's kind of a disservice to that character, but also just a disservice in general of like, yeah, when you have all of these mental disorders, you could become this person. And it's towing that line very thinly. And I'm not a fan of that either. So it just, there's that aspect of it too. But in the end, guess that doesn't really matter because he's not actually the Joker. I mean, he's the Joker, but in the end, not really, because another guy who was influenced by him decides, you know what, let me just kill you and take over your whole thing and add my own flair to it. And then I'm going to be the Joker. And that's just, I mean, and I don't know if there was supposed to be going for the irony of like, oh, he finally got somebody who understood him and what he wanted, but that person ended up killing him. I don't know if that's what they were going for. I don't like it if it was. Like, sure, I understand that you're trying to make like a ironic point here, but it was just, I hated it because I'm like, it felt cheap and it was just not needed in any way. Like, and you know that they probably thought they really had something with that. They were just like, what if at the end, the Joker that everybody knows comes in and is the Joker, and thought that everyone was gonna be like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever. No, it fell flat. It fell flat because nothing else in this movie works for a payoff like that. And I just didn't like how I just remember sitting there in the theater and literally rolling my eyes at this, being like, we're doing this. We're really doing this. Why? So there was that element of frustration. You know who I think probably had the biggest win in this movie? Zazie Beetz, because she got to go on set for one day, probably, and do her scene and get a fat check and then roll out. That was probably the biggest win of anything in this movie, if you ask me. But, and also, I'm not quite sure what the whole thing was about him continuing to try to kiss his lawyer. I'm not sure, like, was that supposed to be like proving more that he's just like not making good decisions. And so, we can't trust the stability of this man, and that plays into his case. Like, I don't understand, because it happened at least 3 times where he either does kiss her or tries to kiss her. And I didn't know what that was supposed to add to the rest of the story, really, other than just like him not understanding social cues. And so anytime she gets close to him to talk to him, he thinks that he should try to do that because she's helping him. I don't know. I don't really know. But again, it's like they want you so much in this movie to sympathize with the Joker at points, but then he does things like that, and you're just like, no, like I have a hard time sympathizing with stuff like that. And so again, it feels like I don't know what they want you to take away from this movie about this character, about the relationships in the movie, or anything like that. Like, I don't know what they're wanting you to get out of it. And that's why the movie is so disappointing. Like, it just did some things and said, this will be a fun sequel. People will love it, like you guys said. And then it's just like, but it actually just, it makes the first Joker worse, in my opinion, because of the outcome, because of the fact that they say, well, forget all of these things that really were supposed to matter in the first one, because in the second one, we're just going to just undo it all. And also, yeah, the courtroom thing, when he got full face Joker, and like he did that, like, would you call it the foghorn leghorn? I was confused. It was a little bit amusing because I was like, is he trying to do like a Matthew McConaughey impression? What's going on here? But like, then you're just like, there's not an explanation for why he's making that choice. Like, I know he's just supposed to be doing silly things, and nothing he's doing in the courtroom that's supposed to be silly is landing, because he doesn't understand how he actually comes across to people. But I'm just like, that was just a choice that it almost took me out of the scene, because I'm like, you're trying to at least somewhat state your case, which is absolutely nothing. You have nothing here. You're just trying to like shuffle around, like making other people seem somewhat suspicious so that you look less suspicious. But then you also go and you confess in the middle of court that you've killed another person they didn't even know you killed, like, or suspect you of killing, and I'm just like, what was the plan here? What was the game plan here?
Well,
and
when he does that, it is to go to jail, because when he does that is after he's been unjokified, is when he admits to the other murder.
Okay, that's fair. But I guess it just in general, like anything that happened in the courtroom, you're just like, to what end? You know what I mean? Like, there was just a whole bunch of things happening. And again, it's like, in his own mind, he's very confident in his own mind, and like the things that he's saying to himself, he's like, this makes complete sense. I am killing this. I am crushing this courtroom case that I'm making. And in his own mind, for a minute, it feels like he believes that. And then you get the perspective of literally anybody else there that's just like, what is this? And you're right. Like, that judge absolutely had a right to be like, no, you're not going to do this in my courtroom. You're not going to be full face makeup, Joker persona in my courtroom. We're not going to make this what that is. But he just, I don't know. What's the name of the city they're in? Gotham or whatever. Maybe that's a rule in Gotham, because Gotham's not real. I have no idea.
It don't matter. I don't give a fuck if it's the court of Candyland. You ain't getting away with that shit.
And also, like, that was supposed to be this big turning moment when he goes Joker and says, oh, I'm going to defend myself. But what about his cross-examinations or arguments was even convincing or compelling? Like, what did he ever say when he was doing the Joker lawyering that was meaningful? He spent half the time making fun of that guy's name. Puddles? Your name's Puddles? Puddles, 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 puddles,
You
puddles,
expect
or
us
whatever
to
it
believe
was.
that your name is actually Puddles. Like, just really.
Yeah. What was that?
Exactly.
What?
He's doing a bunch of nothing.
Yeah, he spent half the time just talking about this guy's name. Now, the guy who played Puddles, Lee Gill or whatever, I do actually think acting wise, that was one of the better parts of the film. When he was talking about how you let me go, but you traumatized me and everything like that. You called me a friend, but I was traumatized. That was, and he saw kind of the effect that he actually had on a person. Like that was probably the shoot, it might have been the best acted scene of the movie. Like that was probably the most meaningful thing that happened during that court stuff. But even then, after all that happened, he never once jokered a compelling argument about anything. Like
Exactly. And that's why I'm like, in his head, he thinks he's crushing this, but he's just not at all. And then, and I do think though, I guess that's something I will say about, at least in that courtroom, everything going on there that felt a little bit more consistent than other things is you see when they give the verdict and he's like, yeah, you're guilty. Like he actually looked like a little surprised or a little bit like bummed out, even though like at that point, yes, he had confessed, you know what I mean? So it's like, he knew what the outcome was going to be, but still there was some part of him, like this part of his persona he's putting on that's kind of felt like genuinely bummed out that was the verdict, even though he knew that would be the verdict.
I think that's because he knew that meant he was losing Harley. Like he was losing Lee. Like that was not only the death of him, it was the death of him and Lee for whatever it's worth.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I think that's really kind of it. And plus she wasn't there for that. She wasn't there for the guilty verdict. So he's heartbroken that she was never there. It's not that he lost, but he lost without her.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah.
Why am I defending this shit? Like I'm probably putting more effort into this than than they did. What am I doing? Think what you want. I mean, it's probably right.
Well, but the thing is, like, that's kind of the whole thing about everything that happened in the courtroom scenes is like confusion on all fronts. Like it was just a mess of confusion that you're just like, I'm not sure what we're supposed to take from this at all. So yeah, but I do agree. I think that the guy that plays Puddles, like his performance was good, and then, we get Zazie Beetz for a minute, like there were some, decent performances, but like they're not really in it long enough for you to just be like, you stole the show necessarily. But I mean, I will say, in as much as we've been talking about, Gaga didn't do like her full potential, she could do in this movie for her singing. I actually really like her as an actress. I think she, for me, she was the standout more so in this particular movie. Maybe because she's a newer character and you're still trying to figure out exactly what role she's going to play. But for me, she stood out more in this movie than anyone else did. And I mean, but the thing is, like, she actually could have, like, if they had taken out all the musical stuff, made this just a straight up, like, non-musical follow up to the first one that still wouldn't be needed. Like, she would have been good just as, like, a Harley Quinn, like normal Harley Quinn character. Like, I think she would have done a solid job just playing that character, but we get this instead. So I don't know. It makes me a little bit sad.
I mean, maybe, but I can only judge her on the fact that I have seen her as Harley Quinn and it sucked. So just got to go based on what I've seen.
Fair.
You guys got any more thoughts on this one?
Not me.
Nope.
I felt kind of bad. I forgot that Puddles guy was in the first movie. I don't remember much about that shit at all. Like when Zazie Beetz showed up and she's like, "Oh, he was in my house." I was like, "Was he?" Probably. And when they're like, "He killed 5 people," I know the whole joke was supposed to be that he actually killed 6 and everybody knew it. I was like, "Yeah, I killed 5." And then he's like, "And then I killed my mom." And I'm like, "He killed his mom? That's crazy." And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was in the first movie." Oh well.
You just forgot the whole damn thing. See, the cartoon could have just been a recap for you.
Okay.
You know?
I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually the last thing I wanted to talk about. Would this movie have not been better? Because Todd Phillips talked about how the Joker, like singing songs, is like how he is like expressing what's going on in his head. And it's like a chaotic thing and all of those things. And would this movie have not been better if they kind of WandaVisioned it? And it's just a bunch of different things. Like part of the movie's animated, part of the movie is in a black and white TV show, part of the movie's in a musical, part of the movie is in a Law and Order courtroom drama. And like,
yeah,
that's what I was saying. Like, why set up that animated that way if you're not going to do something like that the rest of the film?
But think about this. You could have had the end of the courtroom, like what ultimately culminated. You could have actually kept the ending the same, where he unjokerfies, right? And it actually inspires the real Joker, because that's the whole point. Is this was Todd Phillips going, haha, fuck you fanboys. He's not actually the Joker. He was never the Joker, so you're stupid. But like what he could have kept all that the same, but like where the courthouse scene could have become so crazy and all this other stuff leading up to the actual guilty verdict is when they could all be kind of bleeding into each other. Like he's the Joker, but maybe one of his arms is animated and part of the court's animated and part of the court is, courtroom drama. Part of it is musical, part of it, you know what I mean? Just like have it all mixing and swirling and combining and mashing together. And then it's just when he gets the guilty verdict, it just disappears and it's actually reality.
that would have been cool.
That would have been tight.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That animated short, is that the thing that Harley Quinn kept saying, like, I've seen it 20 times?
No. So they made, in this universe, they made like a made for TV Brian Murphy, like, oh, this is what the Joker did, like a made for TV movie of the Joker's crime spree.
Okay. I thought I don't know why in my head I was thinking, oh, is that what we saw at the beginning? But I guess not.
No. It was like, like that Melendez Brothers show that's on right now, or that Aaron Hernandez show that's on right now, which I refuse to watch, but I've seen a couple of clips of it on TikTok, and dear God, I don't feel like anybody that is behind the scenes on that Aaron Hernandez show has seen football. I'm not even getting into whether or not it's appropriate to make that type of movie, but no. I don't think they've ever seen football. Dude, they have Bill Belichick listening to Bon Jovi in his office, playing drums with a pencil and air guitaring. Bill motherfucking Belichick. That's how they interpret that man. As jamming. Now, don't get me wrong. I know little to nothing about Bill Belichick in his personal life. But you know what I could never see that man doing? Any of that. Just any of it. But also, when your show is about a player making it to the NFL and still murdering people and still having ties to gangs and still committing crimes and all of this stuff, and that's what your show's about, you know what we need more of? Simulated rock and roll scenes. What in the Joker Folie do is that logic? I just wanted to talk about that because I saw those clips and I'm like, this is absurd. But also, dude, they just have clips of people running out routes and like running shit. And I'm like, I can run better routes than that. And I've never ran a route in my life. Oh, man. Like, these are supposed to be simulating the NFL, and it looks like it's the Little Giants. It's sad. Anyway. But yeah, that was my one thought. Is like, what if the whole movie was like culminating like that and bouncing back and forth? You could have part of it be like La La Land, part of it be like Singing in the Rain, part of it being animated, part of it being, like I said, Law and Order. Like, you know what I mean? You could just do those things. Part of it can be the Sonny and Cher variety hour or something like, just do it, like have it bouncing around, have it change, have it be all these things. And then it's just culminates and like it bleeds together and it's like just a madness. And then it gets stripped away and then he gets murdered and it's the actual Joker. And then as it's fading away into the credits, you can actually kind of have it turn into like a comic book art style in that scene, because it's like showing you, hey, this is the comic book Joker. Arthur Fleck's not the Joker. He uses things. He was just a mentally unwell man, all this other stuff, but he inspired the Joker. And you can kind of, like I said, you see it turning into that. And then you like can kind of have like the bat signal in the background or something like that, like showing this is the birth of the Joker that fights the Batman and like that type of thing, and actually tie it together with the madness that this movie was. Anyway, that's it. On that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com, or we are Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook. We're cinema_slayers on Instagram, Threads, Letterboxd. We're Cinema Slayers pod on TikTok, YouTube. We are, give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. Really help us out. Shout out to Plug Migo, Mundo, show for our theme song and logos respectively. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends, and most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love.
Full voice Lady Gaga. I got nothing else for this one. Do we accept?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there's not much to go with on this particular movie.
Yeah.
What is with the current trend of like with DC stuff when they're like, oh, we gotta give modern hip names like Lee Quinzel. It's not Harley Quinn. It's Lee Quinzel, and it's not in the Penguin TV show. It's not Oswald Cobblepot. His name is Oscob. Like that's a name. Like that's an actual name. Oscob. They went, we want something more realistic and gritty. Oscob. That's more realistic than Oswald Cobblepot? Really? Oscob. Well, from what I've heard, that show's fantastic. But I just wanted to bring up that that's a weird trend in DC shit right now. We need more realistic names. Lee Quinzel, Oscob. Because Harley Quinn, even Harley Quinzel, and Oswald Cobblepot are just bonkers silly comic names. These motherfuckers. Anyway. Remember, you're here at the Cinema Slayers podcast. We are pro slut, pro Sydney, pro naked. You. Yes, you, Cinefans. You are Knuff. And justice for Chris. Justice for Todd. And justice for all those amazing stunt people out there doing God's work when it comes to making movies. And fuck this movie. I don't think I said that yet. Fuck this movie. And, as I end the TikToks, the YouTube videos, and most importantly, this podcast, just remember, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is the best picture winner.
cool dance on the Joker steps.
Cinema Slayers.
No, what?
No cool dance on the Joker steps.
Yeah, they just wanted to mislead you that from the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I figured maybe it'd be Harley this time or something. You know, just change it up a bit. She could have done a dance number like "I'm leaving here, the Joker," you know, something.
Even like the poster, the movie poster, at least on IMDb, is them like dancing on the steps. So it's very misleading.
How do we not get that in here?
Because this movie does not give a fuck about any of its fans.
Yep, exactly.
It doesn't even want to adhere to the promises that it gives you in its own trailers. Subversion.
He stuck to his guns, brother.
I mean, it's stuck to some stuff, I guess. I don't know about all that. Oh, fuck, all right, I'm done. I'm going to bed. Fuck this movie. Fuck all this. Do you know how hard it was to go that long and not just say fuck this movie? Like the entire beginning part, like.
I'm proud of you for that. That had to have been hard.
If I hadn't done that, my literal review would have been fuck this movie. No, I'm not doing anything else. It gets a 9. That's it. Like,
I commend you for trying.
but I had to subvert. I was just inspired so much by this movie.
It makes sense.
Oh, man. All right. On that note, I'm out.